Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This is exactly what I've been saying, friends. These lefties, these Democrats can't go anywhere. They're supposedly so popular, they're basically pop culture icons. The way the establishment media and media reveres them. In this video, we're talking about Ilhan Omar, and that's definitely the case. I don't exactly remember what music video it was, but I remember randomly scrolling on my Twitter timeline, or maybe it was on YouTube, and seeing Ilhan Omar in a music video for some corny pop band. We saw Stacey Abrams as the president of Earth in the feminist remake of Star Trek. The media would have you believe that these people are superstars. That, of course, is the media narrative. However, reality, like always, doesn't exactly line up. The reality is these people can't go anywhere. They're so deeply unpopular that even in cases that we're seeing recently, they can't even show up to public events in Democrat cities, Democrat strongholds, and even their own districts. Joe Biden recently getting heckled and protested during his visit and speech in Los Angeles. And now, this time, probably one of the most embarrassing moments I have ever seen, Ilhan Omar gets booed off stage so viciously, booed for 10 minutes straight, not by a bunch of evil, extremist, right-wing, ultra-MAGA crowd folk, but rather she got viciously booed off stage by her own Somali community during a culturally Somali concert. Folks, this takes it to a whole other level. These Democrats, and especially these far leftists, can't go anywhere. Let me show you guys exactly what happened, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so take a look at this story. Ilhan Omar booed off stage at Somali Independence Day concert in Minneapolis. Representative Ilhan Omar was booed and jeered off stage by a crowd of thousands of Somali Americans at a concert in Minneapolis Saturday night celebrating Somali Independence Day that featured popular Somali singer Sultan Sirar. The audience at the Target Center booed and cursed Omar for a reported 10 minutes, even as others on stage tried to calm them down. Cries of "get out," "get lost," "get the F out of here," and "shut the F up" could be heard. Take a look at this.
Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, please. No, please. Okay.
On behalf of Afro-Delhi, we want to welcome Sultan to Minneapolis.
This one's gonna get a big old yikes from me, folks. We've covered situations like this before, Jill Biden getting booed off stage, Joe Biden, other figures, I forget exactly who it was, but I've never seen anything this brutal. Joe Biden doing an event and a bunch of Trump supporters booing him from outside of the gate or something is one thing. Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis, in her own community, with people who share the same nationality and culture as her, not only her cultural people, but her constituents, booing her in the most savage of fashion I've ever seen. Folks, the little clip that I showed you guys there was just a little snippet. We have extra details from Shukri Abdirahman, who's actually a Somali American conservative Republican who's running against Ilhan Omar right now. Well, she's claiming that Ilhan Omar was booed for nearly 10 minutes. A complete disaster. They wouldn't even let her speak.
Okay.
The crowd felt so passionate about their disdain towards Progressive Caucus squad member Ilhan Omar, they didn't stop booing her and they didn't let her speak for 10 minutes straight. The cultural currency of the left is slowly starting to drain. And at this point, it seems as though they have barely anything left. And at least to me, it seems as though it's more proof of a turning point in Western society, especially when it comes to particular demographics. People are realizing that they're electing all of these radical left liberals to represent them, but the the entire point of having someone represent you is you expect them to represent your values. Far lefties, and especially squad members, do not represent the values of many of these minority communities. We've mentioned this a million times. Most of the migrant communities, and especially a whole chunk of the Latino community, well, their culture is based on conservative values. Many of these communities are highly religious. They're culturally, socially, and financially conservative, and they get swept up in Democrat marketing campaigns. Vote for these people who don't represent their values, represent, frankly, the exact opposite, and we're at a point where people are actually starting to wake up and realize it. The amount of instances and videos that we've covered just over the last couple of months of people within the Democrat Party coming to realization moments have been incredible, and the numbers back it up, folks. You can show me whatever polling data you want on whatever issue you're talking about or generic congressional ballot data, but when you see nearly 2 million people switching from Democrat voter registration to Republican, well, that's some pretty strong evidence of a political shift. And when you see the way independents are splitting for the Republican Party, it's not just evidence of a wake-up period, but rather a mass awakening. You know, when we're talking about refugees and when we're talking about migrants, and especially working class migrants, the whole point to come to the West and come to the United States is to live the American dream and to thrive within the system of American freedom and capitalism. It's not to vote for more food stamps and government assistance. You know, the whole point and the whole outlook from a huge majority of these people is to move to the land of the free, to move to the incredible nation that is the United States. And when you see someone like Ilhan Omar, who doesn't stop bashing the United States, bashing capitalism and bashing freedom, well, eventually people are going to start getting turned off. When you come from Venezuela or China or Vietnam, Cuba, or other nations that have been ravaged by communism and socialism, the last thing you want to hear out of a politician's mouth, especially a politician that's supposedly representing you, is the word democratic socialist. And what I think is happening as the Democrat brainwash and media control over the narrative starts to fade, as the haze or the fog starts to clear, and people start to see what's really going on in the true dynamic between the two parties, a lot of people are starting to look at the Republican Party, and they're probably saying to themselves, you know, this represents my values, my cultural values, my individual values, and my family values a whole lot more than what I'm getting with Democrats. And I think we are at a point where that is becoming one of the most significant political factors in American politics, and especially with minority voters. You know, suburban women and college-educated women, they're going to do what they do. Nothing's going to change their minds. But when you look at the African community, not necessarily the African-American community, but African first-generation immigrants, when you look at Asian communities, whether it's Chinese, South Korean, Japanese, Southeast Asians, Indians, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, all the way to the Middle East, and of course when you look at Latino communities, the voter shift is clear. It's all heading in one direction, towards the Republican Party, because people are starting to realize that the Republican Party represents the idea of America that motivated them to pack up and move their lives there in the first place. And that, I have to say, folks, is a beautiful thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.